Steven, I think the entire sports world has been asking the same question for the last 3 days. Was someone actually boating during Luka's press conference, or did a reporter's porn go over the loudspeaker?
I think a reporter looked on Twitter, X, or Instagram, or TikTok, and the caption was, "You have to see what happened here." And there's like a photo of maybe an animal or maybe like a car like in midair or something cool. And then you open it up and there's a porn star moaning through the phone. That's my guess.
Is that a common thing?
Yeah. Have you never been fooled by that? It's like the new version of being rickrolled.
No, I've not seen that at all.
You've never seen that where there's the thumbnail or whatever they call it of a video and it looks really cool. And there's a caption that says something like, "You have to see this." Then you open it up and then you have to turn up the volume is also what it says. It also adds that little accompaniment to it. And then you play it out loud and there's oh yeah.
Well, my question is, if that's the case, then why the hell is that reporter doing that right before or right during when Luka's doing his post-game press conference?
That's a good question. Should I find it so we can play that?
I got it right
add
here.
Some context here. Oh, you got it. All right, good.
I got it. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa, the Mother's Day special, and us talking about sexual sounds in the background. It's fitting. If you don't know what we're talking about, we'll show it to you. I'm sure everybody that likes sports knows this by now, but after the Mavericks beat the Oklahoma City Thunder on what day was it? Thursday. Luka was doing his press conference, and he's answering questions, and then something happens in the middle of it.
We were open shot, so just our sharing the ball and our energy was great.
What do you think? Okay. Okay, moving on.
Wow.
So the best part is Luka's face when he realizes what it is. He's like, "Oh God!" And it's almost the face of a guy that knows who's moaning.
Oh, is that why he put his head down?
Well, that's the part where he's kind of ashamed. So my question is, yes, you could be very right, Stephen. It could be a reporter got duped and for whatever reason is not paying attention to Luka and is playing something on his phone. Or as the press conference goes on, Luka laughs with him. He knew that something was going on. It was like a winning time situation, like the Showtime Lakers. They got a victory and someone was getting some victory sex. And or one of his teammates is messing with him and making noises while he's doing the press conference just to mess with him.
I'd buy that.
That's what I think it is.
I'd 1,000% buy into that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. These guys are all starting to get real loose with these press conferences. They always do in these playoffs, right? They always do something like Steph Curry brings his kids along. CP3 did the same. Draymond did at one point a couple of years ago. And
sorry, hold on. Are you relating kids being brought to press conferences to sexual noises in the background?
I am saying that during the postseason, these press conferences, they become a little more, shall I say, easygoing.
Okay.
There's always something new.
Well, they do a lot more. Like they do the tandem setup where two players speak at once to kind of get through everybody.
Correct.
To speak. But I mean that's what I think happened is someone was messing with Luka, and he probably knew which teammate it was, and that's why his face is like that. Unless he just didn't know and he actually thought some bonage was going on.
Who do you think it was?
I don't know. Hardaway Jr.? I have no idea, completely honest.
Hardaway Jr.?
See, there you go.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it was just PJ Washington because he's been going off in this postseason so far, and he's had himself a good series.
Could be the case. Maybe Cubes is getting some right after the game. You never know.
Cubes.
Cubes. A Exactly. A lot of basketball to discuss. Sorry, I caught the tail end of that joke. What were you saying? Something about Shark Tank?
I don't even know what that means. I was just show her the Shark Tank.
Trying to show her the Shark Tank? That's not bad.
Show
That's
her the
not
Shark
bad.
Tank. Bring her into the Shark Tank.
Yeah, he's showing off the cubes.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of basketball talk today. A little bit of baseball too, and a little of the Olympics. Steven wants to get to. I'm not even sure what the story's about, but we'll get to that a little later.
Yeah, it's just something really random, and it's very traditional, and it's like this ceremony that I'd never heard of until I started working at KCBS, and I've been looking at the Associated Press. But yeah, there's this like really long-standing tradition that's taken place with the Olympics. I don't know if there's much of a tease. You know what? I'll explain it because it's going to take like 10 seconds. All right. They light the Olympic torch in the place where the ancient games were first held in Greece. And they have like this whole ceremony that's included in it. And they have now carried that torch from Greece to France, and it's been brought along by ship. And now it's stopping off in like 16 different cities in France before it officially makes its way to Paris for the Olympic Games. Like, there's a traveling Olympic torch.
Is it still lit during that time?
It's lit the entire time.
I doubt that.
That's what they say.
They say that, but like, how the hell could that happen? Just like with the laws of physics, eventually, wind and things are going to make that flame go out.
I think they could. I think they could keep it lit for the entire time, and that's what they bring to light the torch. Like, the thing that it's so messed up, but that's like the first memory I have of someone lighting the Olympic torch was when Muhammad Ali went up there, and this was when he was right in the middle of Parkinson's, and it was really hitting him. But like when they're lighting the Olympic torch, so I'm not going to do those hand motions anymore.
No, I figured. So the torch travels. Like, this thing goes on planes,
boats, ships.
Oh, so okay. Well, the image I had, this is how stupid I am. The image I had in my mind was someone's going through TSA with a lit torch, and they're like, "Sir, you have to put that out, please." I can't. And then like the stewardess are like, flight attendants are like, "No smoking," and they're like, "Sorry, it's an Olympic torch," and like the torch gets its own seat and everything.
Yeah.
That's the image in my mind.
No, it's on like this old timey ship with like sails. It looks like a pirate ship. It's just this wild sequence of events that I'd never really heard of before, and I didn't know there's this grandstanding tradition leading into the Olympics. I didn't know they did this. There's a ceremony involved. There's a lot going on with it. It's pretty interesting.
You excited for the Olympics?
I'm looking forward to them because I think if you pay attention a little bit to what's going on, like with track and field, Sha'Carri Richardson, she's probably going to be on the U.S. track and field team after getting banned in the Olympics due to with marijuana. I think was the whole thing.
You're bringing up somebody I don't even know her name. I don't even know who you're talking about.
Fastest woman in the world. Then there's like the Simone Biles.
Oh yes. I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yes.
Yeah. Then there's Simone Biles, Katie Ledecky for swimming. There's a lot to look forward to, I think, with the Olympics. I enjoy it. I like having on his background noise. I'm not going to be like locked in.
You're not going to watch NBC's coverage at 3:00 in the morning?
No, I'm not.
See, that's the part that I like, is that back in the day before they had alternate networks, everything was shown on delay. So like, you got the news that Michael Phelps won, but then you actually saw it later that day because the Olympics is on different times, obviously. But I like the fact that it's live, so you can watch it around the clock on NBC Sports Network. Yeah. And it sounds like our guy Ahmed Fareed's going to be involved in the coverage. All the usual people, Mike Tirico, Siciliano, and Scott Hansen are doing their red zone coverage. So you can see the Olympic stuff in real time, which actually I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's enjoyable, and I like I don't know. I kind of go back and forth with the summer and winter Olympics. I enjoy watching the swimming and the track
speed walking
stuff. Speed walking's great.
I love it. It's amazing.
But there's break dancing involved with this one. That'll be interesting.
Break dancing?
Yeah, breaking. And I think they added skateboarding to this one, or that might be happening in 2028.
Whoa, hold on. There's break dancing in this Olympics?
Yeah.
So where do they go? Like they're just find like a street corner and put a mat down, and then, people wear Kangos and jumpsuits and do the thing.
Maybe the latter. Maybe the Kango and the jumpsuits is part of the uniform, but I'm sure they put like a mat in the middle of an arena.
Just someone bring a boom box?
Just like with boxing or wrestling or anything like that.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
Yeah,
breaking is what they call it.
Okay. I'm looking forward to the Olympics. Late July, early August?
Yeah.
And we'll have Steph's going to play and Steve Kerr's coaching, so it'll be good from an American basketball angle. Happy Mother's Day, by the way, to all the mothers out there. Jenny, Steven's mom, my mom, Lisa. Thank you guys for being our moms. We should have got them on the show today, actually. That would have been cool.
My mom's in Paris, so wouldn't work.
Nah. What's she doing in Paris? Just having a good time?
No, she was just
scoping out the Olympics before they happen?
Yeah, exactly. She was in England, but just took a quick 2 or 3 day trip up to Paris since it's just a
nice
2-hour train ride up there. So
good. Yeah, good for Jenny. Well, shout out to all the moms today. And we'll do a little pop culture catch up with our favorite TV moms or movie moms, best moms, I guess, of pop culture or real life. I don't know. We'll just cast a wide net.
Mm-hmm.
Before we do that, let's get a little caught up on the NBA playoffs. Basically, all the home teams. Well, actually, that's not the case. Mavericks won a road game, but Mavericks are up 2-1. Close game yesterday. Very fun game. The Celtics dropped a game in Boston at home against the Cleveland Cavaliers, but then came back and they're up 2-1. And now this game just ended. The Pacers and Knicks game. Good Lord. The Pacers just kicked the Knicks' ass. The injuries are kind of catching up with the Knicks right now. OG Anunoby not playing, and Brunson's not, looking great with his injuries.
Right.
And they beat him by 32 points. So that series is tied up 2-2. I think a lot of people were surprised on Friday night how thorough of an ass kicking the Nuggets laid on the Timberwolves. And I'm not surprised by that because with the in-between time, the downtime of that series, I figured the defending champs would have to come back with a vengeance and resurgence, even though they were going to Minnesota. And I think people forget, this team was down 3-1 in the bubble twice. So I don't think being down 2-0 on at home and then going on the road is going to be that tall of an order. By the time you probably listen to this on the podcast, you'll know the outcome of Game 4 between these two teams. I would say this: whoever wins this game tonight between the Timberwolves and the Nuggets probably wins the series, in my opinion.
Really?
Yep.
What makes you say that? You think this is going to be like the finals, the NBA finals from 2022 with the Warriors and Celtics?
Why would you say that?
I guess they split the series in the beginning.
It was 1-1
won the first game, and then it was split 1-1. So never mind. I was trying to make a Warriors connection. It didn't work.
There never was a case where the Warriors were down 0-2 at home.
Yeah.
But no, I think that whoever wins the night, I mean, if the Timberwolves are up 3-1, the Nuggets will still have home court after that, but it wouldn't be great. And if the Nuggets win tonight, then that's something that the Timberwolves did not want to happen when they went up 2-0 on the road and they lose both their home games.
Yeah, well, the Timberwolves have already exceeded expectations. Like, they've already swept through the first round. They won the first 2 games against Denver. They've exceeded expectations by all accounts. But at the same time, though, I'm not just going to buy into that. It feels like that's normally what we say in these types of series, right? It's like, well, whichever team wins this one, then, they're going to go on to win the series. Maybe, or this one is just that competitive and it goes to a game 7 and really that's just a toss up at that point. I don't know with this series. It's really confusing, and it would also help if I would have caught game 3. I was a little busy on Friday night, so I didn't watch all of it. Did catch the ending of Pacers and Knicks, and then went to the concert. And by that time, I think the Nuggets were just already up by double digits. Like, it didn't seem like it was much of a contest at that point. So, I have to see more tonight, but I just think this series is that unpredictable. I don't even want to be that confident in saying whoever wins tonight that means that team's going to go on to win it. Because even if the Timberwolves go up 3-1, I wouldn't put it past the Nuggets to win the next couple at home back in Denver, right? There is one more in Denver, or two more in Denver, right? That's how it is, 2-2-2.
Yeah, Game 5, Denver. Game 6, Minnesota. Game 7,
okay.
Denver.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah. I wouldn't put it past. I would not put it past Denver to win those next two. Like, I really wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's probably a little premature for me to jump to that conclusion, but I just think whoever wins the night will have the momentum going in the series, and that may not mean that that team's going to end up winning. But
yeah,
I mean, from where they were on Monday to where they looked on Friday, Jamal Murray came down and played 10 times better than they did on Monday. And real quick, he gets my jackass of the week, not for throwing the heating pad, but for his demeanor afterwards. There was a little scrum where he was asked about it, and he basically just shook it off and said, "Yeah, moving on, next game." And they wanted to, have him elaborate a little bit, and he was like, "You guys want to ask basketball questions? Jamal, you can't do that. Like, you can't throw the heating pad, get fined, and then act like it's nothing. Like, you got to acknowledge it and say, I fucked up, and then move on. That's it. Just, quick jackass of the week. Nothing huge, but I thought it was a jackass move."
Yeah. To answer questions like you got to know that you're going to be answering questions or having to answer questions after something where he was pretty lucky that he wasn't suspended the next game, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, to be able just to do that and walk away with a $100,000 fine, I think he was pretty lucky that his reputation is that of one of the good guys around the NBA. Like, we've seen it with Draymond enough. Reputation matters. And he's pretty lucky he hasn't had anything like that happen before. Say that was let's just take, I don't know.
Well, say if it was Draymond who threw that.
Or if it was Draymond, or I'm thinking like Bobby Portis, or someone who's had like a history with this sort of stuff. You see people when they're at their lowest and how they react at their lowest. And obviously it wasn't a good look for Jamal, but he could have saved whatever was being said about him by simply acknowledging it and apologizing, or not even apologizing, just admitting it was wrong and then moving on.
Yeah, no, but he came out and played great, so that's how he moves on. And yeah, man, with how much adversity this team has faced since, they become this iteration of the Nuggets, I don't doubt they come back and win the series. But I also was very impressed by the demeanor of Anthony Edwards after they lost, and basically took the loss on his shoulders and said, "It's my fault. I came out flat." And I doubt he did, because it's their first, it's not their first home game, but it's a huge home game. They're up 2-0. I doubt he came out flat. He just, as a very young, mature leader on the team, he just took full responsibility. So I was very impressed by Anthony Edwards' demeanor. So yeah, we'll just see tonight what happens, but I've been thoroughly impressed, or just entertained by this series overall.
Oh yeah. No, the second round has really been interesting. Especially with the Pacers and Knicks and that whole saga with Rick Carlisle and submitting 78 plays to the NBA office just because he felt like they were called incorrectly. It's hilarious, because I don't know if we had the podcast after game 1, but like, I was comparing it to the 76ers, and I'm like, look at Carlisle, because he said, we're not going to call out the officiating. We don't do that. We're probably not going to get a favorable whistle, and we know that. So we got to move on and work with what we got.
And that changed.
Then game 2, he's like, yeah, actually, we had 29 plays ready from that game 1. And we have about 49 more that we want to submit to the NBA office, ones that we felt were called incorrectly. And then what happens? He just gets fined $35K and nothing comes out of it.
And not only that, he called out the NBA for trying to make the Knicks win because they are a big market team and the Pacers are a small market team, which that's crazy.
Yeah.
As my dad likes to call him, the angry Jim Carrey. I guess I could kind of see it in the face a little bit.
Damn, that's hard for me to that's hard for me to picture. I can't do it.
I can see it a little bit. I'm trying to picture Jim Carrey bald. Is there a movie where he was bald? Man on the Moon, because Andy Kaufman had cancer. So at the end of the movie, he's bald. Yeah, I could see with Rick Carlisle.
There was a phase where he was on David Letterman and did an interview. Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah,
I could see it. I could absolutely see it.
I just like it how nonchalant though my dad is when he brings it up. He's like, "Ah, the angry Jim Carrey." And people are like, "What?" Oh, yeah, okay, I see it now. But yeah, that series has been entertaining. I think even though the Pacers have, there was the great game Friday night. Who had? Did you see who had that final shot, Steven, for the Pacers, where he just threw it up in the air?
That was Nemhard, wasn't it?
I believe so. It was a great shot, and that was a fun game to watch. That game was close. Today, they just kicked their ass. I wouldn't give the Pacers. I mean, they have the edge right now because they've won 2 in a row. But when you're 2-2,
Naismith. Sorry, wait. Was it Naismith? No, it was Nemhard. It was Nemhard.
Okay.
All right, we're good.
I would say when you're in a series and it's 2-2 and the home team won the first 2 and then the other team won the first 2 or the next 2, I don't think anybody has the edge in that series yet. So that's entertaining to watch. That's anyone's series, in my opinion. The other 2, I give the edge to the teams that are leading, obviously, with the Mavericks and the Celtics.
All right. So let's play a game here because we'll do that. We're not going to talk about this for the entire podcast, but I'm going to do a little bit of searching, wait for the post-game comments, and I want you to guess which New York Knick do you think said in the post-game presser, series doesn't start till a road team gets a win? Who do you think's going to be the one to say that? Or
didn't someone already say that already?
I could guess Halliburton would be the one to say that. Halliburton seems like a cliche type of guy.
Are you saying on the Knicks or the Pacers?
I'll go either or. We'll go both teams.
I want to say someone already said that though. It could have been Halliburton or it could have been Brunson.
It's just used every single time, and it's series doesn't start till a road team gets a win.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just a monkey wrench thrown into the series when you don't expect that. Like that doesn't mean the series started. The series started with game 1. If you're down 0-2, the series has started. You got to catch up.
Yep.
It's just it messes with the home team when the road team wins. That's basically what that means.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean the NBA playoffs have been fun. The NHL playoffs have been fun too. But it's rare that we're getting close games in these NBA playoffs. I would say most of it's been blowouts. And then there's been a few close games here or there, but for the most part, it's been fun. Yeah, always playoffs are always fun. Then other news in the NBA. This happened today, actually. Can you believe the lottery was on a Sunday?
I didn't think about the date of the lottery.
No, I know, but it usually happens on a weekday.
Really?
For whatever reason, it happened on Sunday, and I don't think anyone was expecting that today. At least I wasn't. People that follow the NBA probably did, but the lottery was today? That's fucking weird.
I knew it was, but I didn't really make much of it being on a Sunday.
Well, Atlanta Hawks, 3% chance to win it, and they won it. They have the number 1 pick in the draft. I don't even know who is the expected first overall pick. It's not like Wembanyama a year ago.
Right. There's no generational player in this one. So, not a see, it's not great when I just look up NBA mock draft 2024 and the first question is who will the Atlanta Hawks pick?
So people
you should already know number 1 overall. Like when the Sharks got that lottery, it was automatic. Max Celebrini's going to the Sharks.
Right.
Yeah, with this one there isn't that.
Yeah, no, I think that's why the numbers were down this year for March Madness because there's not a lot of big names in college basketball these days.
According to the Yahoo mock draft, there's going to be a dude, Alex Sarr, a center from Australia, who played for the Perth Wildcats, who would go number 1. And then number 2, going second, would be a guard/forward from France, who's been playing for GL Bourg. Zachary Risaka.
Nice pronunciation. I'm sure that's accurate.
I don't think so. And Ernie here is saying there are the two top prospects are Frenchmen. So there you go.
Well, there you go. NBA going international. And I did actually laugh at this. With Atlanta getting the first overall pick, Schefter tweeted out, "Doesn't look like the Falcons will be taking a quarterback again."
What? I was about to sneeze.
You okay?
Damn it, dude.
Didn't happen?
It's the worst feeling. I felt like I'm going to sneeze and I didn't.
I'm sure it'll come again. Don't worry, Stephen. You'll get your chance. Don't worry.
Hang on. Alon's coming in here. Been trying to log in to respond on you, but YouTube's being a jerk. Jim Carrey was bald in The Mask. Layup. How could you guys forget? Yeah, the only problem with
but
that,
it was
Alon,
green.
he was in a mask with fake teeth.
Yeah, that doesn't count. that does not count. By the way, one of my biggest pet peeves about that movie, love the movie The Mask. But how come no one questions his face is green?
Yeah, no one
even bats an eye.
No, not at all.
Big flaw in that movie.
Yeah, that's the flaw.
Exactly. Other NBA news. As expected, when when there's an article written about the team not liking a coach, then automatically that coach needs to get fired. So Frank Vogel, after one season, he signed a 5-year contract, $31 million, gets axed after one season because the Suns did not perform well. They fell well below expectations. People thought they were going to be a championship team with the addition of Bradley Beal. Did not happen. They're swept in the first round by the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Frank Vogel is canned, and they hire immediately Mike Budenholzer, who was another championship-winning coach that was axed because Giannis wasn't digging him in Milwaukee. What do you think about stars? Because believe me, I'm not naive. I think that Kevin Durant went to the Phoenix Suns, or most of the team went to Matt Ishbia and said, this guy doesn't fit with us. And I think the same thing happened with Darvin Ham, where LeBron wasn't, liking the way things were going late this season. I think Giannis had a role to play with Adrian Griffin getting axed. What do you think about NBA players basically dictating the job security of their coaches?
I think there's more to it than that with the Suns. Matt Ishbia seems to be a far from conventional owner.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there was an 100% buy-in from other coaches, other staff members around the Suns. Like, the players were at the forefront of it. Like, you just need to go back. Like, the lasting image of good God, why am I blanking on? The lasting image of Frank Vogel in the postseason is Bradley Beal walking by him, Frank Vogel going for a high five, then Beal just completely rejects him and then just sticks his hand out and barely even acknowledges him. Like, you could tell it was over from there. But I think there was a lot more going on behind the scenes. And with the Milwaukee Bucks and Mike Budenholzer, I was surprised they let him go that early. Felt like that was reactionary just because the players didn't play up to their standard in the opening round. And I think the Suns got very, very lucky. I think they got very lucky that they're getting a coach like him. Like, they're getting an NBA champion head coach. And I never thought Frank Vogel was that great anyway. He was more of a defensive mind, so it wasn't going to work when you got three guys who are meant to be the top scorers in the NBA. Like, how are you going to defend us? That's what Devin Booker said. Well, teams figured that out because you didn't really have an offensive-minded head coach. So I think they need something different there. But back to your original question, hasn't this always been going on?
Oh, yeah.
In all sports?
Well, I don't know about all sports, but I would say
feel like it's more prevalent in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, the most well-known case was Magic Johnson, as we saw in Winning Time. Magic Johnson wanting Paul Westhead to be fired with the Lakers, and Jerry Buss granting that. I think the NBA is definitely more of a players' league, and they dictate things. So, yeah, I think that owners kind of saddle up with their star players and say, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And they go with the flow. If the star player tells them, I'm not digging the coach, and that coach is gone. I think when Frank Vogel was hired, it was kind of an underwhelming move. I think most people are like, okay, that's an upgrade over Monty Williams. But I will say this. Frank Vogel did have a lot of success with the Pacers. And yes, they were more of a defensive-oriented team. Then he won a championship with the Lakers and was fired shortly after that. he never got the credit for that, and it was that whole championship is kind of weird because of the bubble and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you said, Stephen, Budenholzer, there was rumors about him getting axed the year they won the championship because they were the 3 seed, I believe, and they upset the Nets in the second round. Then they hosted the conference finals against the Hawks and beat the Suns. But if they were going to win that year, there was a lot of talk that Budenholzer was going to get fired. So he won and he saved his job for I think a couple more seasons, and then he got axed just the past off season because they lost to the Heat in the first round when they were the 1 seed. But I think Budenholzer is slightly better than Frank Vogel as far as a coach. He gets 5 years, $51 million, so he gets a better contract with the Phoenix Suns. And yeah, he's more offensive oriented, and he coached under Pop, and he's from Arizona, so there's a lot of links there. But it just seems to me like you're trading one journeyman championship winning coach for another, because I think that they're very similar in what they've accomplished. Budenholzer may be a little bit of a better coach, but it's just weird to me that the Suns like knew right away this is the guy we want. Like there's no Rooney Rule in the NBA. Like if you want a guy, you go get him immediately. So they fired Frank Vogel and then didn't interview anybody else and just hired Mike Budenholzer. To me, it's kind of weird.
Well, I think they knew for a while that he was going to be the guy. Like after the postseason, I mean, look how quickly the Lakers got rid of Darvin Ham. I'm sure the Suns did the same to Frank Vogel, and it just didn't get out there for a while. Because Budenholzer he's from Arizona.
Yeah,
familiar with the team. Like they had to have had this in the works. But I do think the Suns are in. I don't know what needs to change for them, because you look at those 3 guys and you're like, how can you be that bad with Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant? Like, how can you? Those guys are 3. I mean, at least one of them's a Hall of Famer. Like, how are you going to get those 3 guys and not make it work? How? Like, there had to have been a lot going on inside, but much more within the organization, even more than the Athletic article and what it showed, because it did give us a couple of telling moments where there was a game back in March. It was when the Suns started to stink, and Vogel, I guess, was trying to give some motivational speech, and there are even a couple of players that started laughing at the idea of Vogel trying to do that. Like they weren't taking him seriously.
Yeah.
So maybe they were in need of a change of scenery. I don't know. It's not like the NFL either. They haven't had this young group of hotshot coaches who were meant to be head coaches. They haven't had that group come through. It feels like we're kind of just shuffling through a bunch of coaches that have had some success, a little bit, but not a ton. And they're not enough to have the staying power of Greg Popovich, Eric Spoelstra, Steve Kerr, those guys. They're in a weird place.
Yeah, are those the three? Are those 3 the best in basketball right now?
I don't know if I don't know, but they're the best for their organization. I know that.
I think they're the ones with the most stability, and I think they're the ones that. Yeah, it does feel like a more of a rotating chair of NBA coaches, because it kind of feels like the way that owners view it is really it's the players, and these guys set the orders, but we can change it anytime, and teams could still have the same success. That's why I think you see so much turnover with NBA teams firing their coaches.
Yeah.
And Ernie 2 brings this up, and I wanted to get to this. Has KD become a coach killer? So, looking at KD's history, when he came to the Seattle Supersonics, when he was drafted in the league, he was coached by PJ Carlissimo, and that didn't last long. And then he had Scotty Brooks for the longest time. Then he left, who was after him? Who was the coach of Florida that went to Oklahoma City? Billy Donovan. He had him for a little while, and then obviously he signed with the Warriors, and it wasn't smooth between him and Steve Kerr. Initially it was, but then it kind of went downhill after we saw that footage of the TNT mic'd up where Steve is talking to KD during the Western Conference Finals against the Rockets. And Steve is telling a story to Kevin Durant when he was with the Bulls about how Michael Jordan was taking all the shots, in a game. He was great, but he wasn't spreading the ball around, and the team was not having success because of it. And he needs to do that. And that was not well received by Kevin. And Steve was actually upset that that footage was out there to everybody. In fact, TNT, I remember when we rolled the audio in 95.7, we were like one of the few last people to have that sound, because once Steve was upset about that, then it went away. Like TNT got rid of it and you couldn't find it again. So Steve, and then there was like, Kevin calling out Steve for like, oh, I thought we're supposed to play with joy. And there was just weird moments.
Oh, yeah.
I never thought that KD loved the idea of passing the ball around. He wanted the ball in his hands. So while they're cordial today, I mean, and Steve had that comment a couple years ago when they had the 15-win season, when he was asked, is this one of the worst seasons you ever had? And he was like, it's a lot more fun than other seasons I would have. And some thought he was alluding to the drama of Kevin Durant. Despite Steve getting the most out of Kevin Durant, they did not get along. And then after that, he goes to the Nets. He didn't want Kenny Atkinson. He wanted Steve Nash. Then he wanted Steve Nash fired. Then he went to the Suns. Not his fault. He wanted to play with Monty Williams. Monty Williams gets fired. And now Frank Vogel. And then he wanted Frank Vogel fired. It just seems to me there seems to be a trend with Kevin Durant. But also, I'll say this, as Marcus Thompson brought up with us, there's also an expectation when you have Kevin Durant on your team. So if those coaches do not win or at least go to a conference final, then there's going to be a short leash with their job security.
I'd put him in the same vein as like a LeBron James in that sense. It's not like LeBron has had just one head coach for his entire life. He's obviously gone through multiple, especially since moving on from the Heat. So in that same way, yes, but like coach killer, I guess so, but Kevin Durant's that good. You know what I mean? It's not like this is one of the most prolific scorers, one of the greatest that we've ever seen, ever, like ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was gonna say greatest that we've ever seen of all time. Like a guy who you literally run your scheme through, and if it doesn't work, you want to take his word into account. So maybe we do put him into that category, but I think it's very deserving if that head coach can't make it work with Kevin Durant. I think he's that good of a player, or maybe he is just a coach killer, and this is just the evolution of the NBA is a little too much for his skill set, because, it's get the ball to KD, let him score, let him do whatever he has to. But in this new age of NBA now, with how the Warriors really changed things, now you're moving the ball around, trying to get the open three, and instead of just opening up some space on the floor, maybe setting a couple of screens so that you get the ball to KD and he's just going one-on-one every possession. It's not like that anymore. It is with a couple of teams, but those teams don't really fare too well. So maybe just the NBA's passed him by now and it's just not going to work. But I don't know. I think he has the right to have that sort of opinion. And I think a lot of owners would be inclined to say, well, all right, I'd rather take the player's word for it if they need a new coach than the actual coach's word for it, and see if we can make it work with him any longer. I think it's very confusing. I think it's a very confusing question, to be honest. It's a loaded question. It's more than just like yes or no.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say that KD's a coach killer, but I just don't think that I don't think he gets along with coaches as easy as he should, to be completely honest.
No.
I think that he had a good scheme going with the Warriors. Did it go through him all the time? No, and that bothered him. But Steve got the best out of him. Like, if you ask LeBron who's the best coach he ever played for, who do you think he would say?
Ooh. Maybe Spoelstra?
I think so. Because he let him be him, but also he had other pieces on that team. And that was when Spoelstra wasn't really the great coach that he is today. He was young and upcoming, and a lot of people were questioning, this guy's going to coach the star-studded Heat team, but he did, and then he won, 2 championships. I think there's also, the best teams, the dynastic teams, were run by a superstar and a head coach together in unison. Steph Curry and Steve Kerr, Kobe and Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson. LeBron's won 4 championships, and I give a lot of him credit for that. but I think it was Eric Spoelstra really helping him become a great player with the Heat. And then to be completely honest, LeBron just carried those teams. Ty Lue wasn't a great coach yet when the Cavs won, and I don't think Frank Vogel had that much of an impact on that Laker team. So I think it was just LeBron carrying those two championship teams. But I think that, I do think the reason why Kevin Durant hasn't had much success in the playoffs post Warriors is probably because he hasn't found the coach or the style of play that he's been looking for since he left. So, yeah, I think I don't know. I'm kind of relating it to football in a way where coaches in the NFL get way more credit than they do in the NBA. It's just interesting to me that the best teams are a good partnership with a star player and a coach. And I don't think that's very common these days in the NBA.
I would also like to speak to someone who's been watching this team day in, day out. Because I haven't. I've definitely kept up with them, seen them winning and losing and tracking the results. But there's a lot that goes into it, and there is the trend there, and that isn't. I think we should ask someone who is a Phoenix Suns fan. I don't know. Maybe we get Nash on here or something. He has very strong Suns opinions. Very, very strong. Shout out to Nash. He's the best. But I would like to know, like, with Kevin Durant, is there something up with him? Like, I don't know when it came to the Suns or the Nets so much. I saw it with the Warriors, saw it every day with the Warriors, but wasn't keeping that close of attention. And it always feels like we single out KD. But who knows? Maybe the reason they lost a bunch of games is because their depth wasn't there, and they needed more from these other players. And Kevin Durant wasn't the problem at all. And maybe it really was just all Frank Vogel. Maybe Danny Golding. He lives in Phoenix.
Oh, well, yeah, it's just an interesting thing. Although I will say he's not a coach anymore, but he used to be a coach. Now he's, executive of the team. The only coach I think that has like an NFL mentality in the NBA is Pat Riley. His press conference the other day was amazing, where he basically just called out everybody on the Heat, told Jimmy Butler to shut up. If he's not playing, I don't want to hear your opinion. That's in response to Jimmy Butler saying that if he was healthy, they would have beat the Celtics and then they would have beat the Knicks. And Riley's response was, if you're not on the court, just shut your mouth. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, how could he say that? It's Pat Riley. He's earned the right to say that. Jimmy Butler, great player, hasn't won as many championships as Pat Riley has.
No.
And then he called Tyler Hero fragile. Like it was just like very old school, and like I loved it, to be completely honest. But I know a lot of NBA people are like, oh, that's he's such an old head speaking like, so candidly about that. And I was like, no, sometimes people need to hear that.
Okay. I like for any of those people to be the president of an NBA team.
Yeah.
Agree to pay all this money to those guys. Tyler Hero getting that Jordan Poole contract, right? Those were the two guys at the time. It's like, what are they going to pay these guys who are sixth men, but really can be starters eventually, and a guy like Jimmy Butler, who was hurt for all those playoffs. I get where Pat Riley's coming from. By the way, Camilo Doval. Wow.
Yep.
Yikes. That was
an extras
a close one.
Oh no,
that was
bottom of the ninth.
Yeah, that was a close one.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just catching the end of the Giants game too, tied 5-5 against the Reds.
Melvin always putting Doval in these non-save situations. It's weird.
You don't like it?
I do not, but I guess I understand it when it's 5-5, and I don't know what it's like with their bullpen or what the usage has been or what the rest is like. It's been a tough going trying to pay attention to sports this week. I've been real busy.
Perfect segue. Giants, not playing their baseball. They got a good win yesterday, but Friday night they lost to the Reds, who prior to that game lost 8 in a row. And I'll pull up the sound here real quick. A lot of people, people would say the biggest name on the Giants is probably Logan Webb. And he, is not, he doesn't, he's not like a fiery guy. Like when he does press conferences, he's not going to like, go off and, use expletives. He's just kind of, soft-spoken, talks with his play. I was very surprised he was this candid Friday night after the Giants lost to the Reds. Well, if I get my screen up here. Hang on one second.
Pull-up game's weak, dude.
All right, you're one to talk, Steven. All right, here we go.
Hey, KMBR producers Twitter chat.
How do you describe this sort of overall stretch? You guys come off a kind of a rough road trip and then come back home and face a team that's been struggling.
It's dog shit, to be honest. As a whole, just can't. It's frustrating. To be honest, it's not good enough.
Dog shit. It's fucking dog shit, as Logan Webb said. So, were you surprised that he responded that way?
Not after an outing where he gives up 8
Well, he didn't
hits
play well either, yeah.
on 7 innings pitched and just gave up 2 earned runs and is still tabbed with the loss. Now 3-4 on the year. With the way that he's been pitching the past couple of starts, he didn't have room to talk in those previous 2. And then the others, well, he actually got a little bit of run support. But again, the Giants, nothing to show for it, as they even had a lead early on. And then obviously an error is why he only had a couple of earned runs. Was I surprised? I think the frustration's really starting to boil over now, because we are at the quarter mark of the season, which you can now get a gauge on where these teams are at. And I think that road trip kind of solidified that they are not up there with the higher ranked teams, just the overall in general, just the stronger teams in the National League and the American League. But
didn't we know that going into the season, though, Steven? Sorry to cut you off, but didn't we kind of have an idea that if they were going to make the playoffs, it would most likely be as the final wild card team?
They weren't supposed to be a punching bag to the good teams, which is what they felt like on that road trip.
Fair enough.
Not doing anything against the Red Sox. Not doing anything against the Phillies, obviously, with the amount of runs they scored. Well, here's my question. Do you think that maybe the players, if they saw any of that, his teammates took it the wrong way? Or do you think that is kind of his message to the locker room? Because right now he is their leader. He is their vocal guy. Like, him and Melvin came to an agreement on that in spring training. And I knew we were going to talk about this. So as we were coming back from Mother's Day brunch, Jesse and I were talking about it in the car ride over. And she thinks that it could rub some players the wrong way if he says something like that.
That could be the case, but if I was Logan Webb, I wouldn't give a shit, because you have to be vocal as a leader, and I think he's frustrated. I think a lot of guys have been very good about not saying their true feelings about the way the team was run the past few years under Gabe Kapler. I think that Webb was not a fan of that at all. I think Brandon Crawford has been very vocal of late since he, left the Giants. But I think if you ask the clubhouse, I think a lot of people would say the analytics is too much. Kapler was too weird. It didn't feel like a baseball environment. We like having Bob Melvin. So they're frustrated that it's looking the same as a year ago under Kapler. And now the team you haven't seen an improvement. And I like, Webb, like I said, he's usually soft-spoken in interviews, doesn't give you a lot, but I liked his honesty there, because he was kind of looking like, I'm going to try to sell this. He kind of looked like Jesse Plemons there, by the way, too, with the little stash going. But he's trying to sugarcoat it the best way possible. And then he's just like, nah, I can't cover this up. We're playing like dog shit. And it was good to hear, honestly. So yeah, it might rub some people the wrong way, but if I'm Logan Webb, I'm like, well, then stop playing like dog shit then.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I really do. And I think it's just a sign that this team is not heading in the direction he thought it would be heading in.
Yep.
Once he got that contract extension. When he was made the team captain, he got that 5-year deal. All right, we got rid of Jock Peterson, who's no longer playing these poker games in our locker room, and we actually have people who care. We have a manager who is willing to come down hard on these guys. We have a manager who's willing to admit that we're not playing very well. The amount of times I saw Gabe Kapler tap dance his way around press conferences to try and sugarcoat everything instead of just owning up to whether it was like a bad pitching decision, a lineup decision that was questionable, all these things. He'd give you a word salad, but wouldn't straight up say, yeah, this was a mistake. We shouldn't have done that and we'll be better moving forward. It was just always these reasons, these analytic, everything involved. And I understand that everyone's coming in down hard on Farhan. Ernie's saying Farhan's pathetic. Ernie too, calling him Fraud Han. But and Jesse is trying to back up. I agree with him. Just don't think it should be that public when he doesn't play in those games, but he is the leader. So I understand that, but he also played in that game. Jesse, that was the other detail.
No, I know, but Jesse's saying, I just don't think it's okay for him to say publicly that they're playing like dog shit when he only plays every 5 games. That is a good point. As a pitcher, do you think pitchers, when they're not out there every day, can publicly call out the team who are playing every day?
Not a lot of them can, but I think Logan Webb has I think where his place on the team, the guy who's going to be here long term, no one else is. Everyone's got
the face of the team. Yeah,
he is the guy. Like, I think he has every right to do it. I don't think other guys would. Like, if Blake Snell were to come out and say that, I'd be like, Snell, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
You
like,
got to actually have some accomplishments on this team.
Yeah. So, but I also think it's not just the game. Maybe it is just the game. I don't know. But to me, it feels like when Webb got the contract, or even when he made his debut in 2019, like when him or Slater, Jesse's saying Slater, oh, you want to talk about a guy who doesn't play every day? Slater's a bench. Oh, she's answering Ernie. Sorry. I don't know whether they're responding to the chat or responding to the thing. Anyway.
She was responding to Webb is the longest tenured Giant, right? It's either him or Slater. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's sad. But when he came along, I think what he envisioned was a lineup of Marco Luciano somewhere in the infield, Luis Matos in the outfield, Elliot Ramos. You got all these guys, these prospect in this farm system. You bring in Farhan and you have all this excitement. We're going to have a bunch of homegrown players and then we're going to get to the playoffs. And then that 2021 season was kind of putting lipstick on a pig, really, is whatever metaphor you want to use, because everyone has compared that 2021 season to everything. It's like, you're getting fooled with like a car analogy where it's like, all right, this thing looks like a Ferrari, but it has a engine of a Honda Civic. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Has anybody ever been fooled by a lipstick on a pig?
No, but there has been someone fooled by lipstick on a warthog, aka the lions in Lion King, when Timon and Pumbaa, when Pumbaa wore the lipstick, or was it Timon?
Yes. It was both of them. Are you aching? Yep. For some bacon. Wait, was it that part?
Yeah.
I'm thinking more of the terms of like Bugs Bunny when Elmer Fudd would see him in drag and he was like, "Oh, hubba hubba."
Yeah. But
back to the main point. Sorry.
Back to the main point about Farhan and these teams. I'm not going to say get rid of him because I don't know what the answer is. It's like you say, get rid of him. That sounds very easy, but okay, what are they going to do? You're just going to have, you're just going to bring in a new GM, have him inherit this team that's just on 1-year deals with nobody on the roster and a bunch of minor leaguers who can't seem to hit above 250 in AAA. I don't know what a change would do. What I can say is there's no way I could back up anything Farhan does anymore. And this is just the era that Giants fans have to live in now, where like it's just not going to go how you want it to go. And I think it's an easy cop out just to say, yeah, get rid of Farhan. And Ernie Chavez is saying bring in Kim Ng along, who just got let go by the Marlins. But is that the answer? Do you want that happening? Because she got to a Marlins team that had the worst trade I think I've ever seen as far as where the players have landed now. But she inherited that team and they did have that little playoff moment, but I don't know. Is that really the right move right now? Like at this point?
Well, let me ask you this, Steven. So the
She didn't leave the Marlins. She mutually parted ways. She tried getting a job with them, and they didn't want her around, Ernie. All right, easy. All right, you're coming in hard on these chats here, Ernie, with all these facts. I'll give you those facts right there.
Let me ask you this, Steven. Everyone was pining for Bob Melvin to be the manager of the Giants.
Yeah.
You heard rumors about it towards the end of the season. There were clips where Bob Melvin showed his frustration with AJ Preller, just how the Padres were run. So people were making connections, but it wasn't seeming likely towards the end. Then, out of nowhere, Andrew Beckley came out with that Athletic article that was saying the Giants have interviewed Bob Melvin and the Padres have given him permission to speak with them, which Ben signaled that he was going to be manager. Then everybody was like, oh, yeah, this is it. This is the upgrade over Kapler. This is the guy we needed. They're going to finally start playing like a real baseball team. And the success has not shown yet. Now, was it a long season? Absolutely. But I would ask you, you watch a lot more Giants games than me. How has Bob Melvin fared so far as manager of the Giants? Is there a difference?
Yes. I'd say there is. I don't think the locker room is as loose as it used to be. You're seeing starting pitchers. He's leaving them out there for much longer than Kapler did. You're seeing a lot more guys stand in for against lefty or righty through the pitching matchups, as opposed to you've seen some of it. I'm not saying that Melvin never pinch hits guys. Like, you've seen some questionable decisions, but I do think there's been an upgrade. I just don't know if this team is very good, like, at this point.
And that's why
how much can he work with? How can Melvin really, like, how many runs can he add? You know what I mean? Like, can he actually be the guy to fix this streak where they didn't score more than 4 runs for 11 straight games? Like, is that really Melvin's fault, or is that just the lineup not doing their job?
It could be the coaching staff that he assembled.
There's that. Yeah.
Like, who's it? Pat Burrell's the hitting coach right now?
Mm-hmm.
Does he have any coaching experience?
No.
He worked with the Giants here or there, but I don't think this is the first time where he's actually like a coach.
Yeah.
So, people could look to that. I think I'm not saying that Bob Melvin's having a bad season whatsoever. I just, I wonder, what do people think about him right now? And I think it's an easy cop. I think people just don't like Farhan. Just, that's the case. He's back to the Kapler era, and everyone hates the way the Giants are run now. I talked about it last podcast where Chris Berman basically said Sabian, is doing baseball the right way and Farhan's not. And I think a lot of people in the organization feel that way and just don't speak up. And the fans don't like this new way of baseball. But what do you want him to? What do you want him to do differently? I asked Giants fans, and I asked the Ernies and everybody in the chat that are Giants fans. What do you want him to do differently? I'm just curious. Like this offseason. Okay, so did you want him to did you want to give him did you want him to give Ohtani ownership in the team? Like, what else was going to happen where he was not going to the Dodgers? Nothing. He got Soler, and Soler has not played well. He got he got Matt Chapman, who everybody was clamoring for. He got Blake Snell. He got stars. He did send him to. He kind of had to overpay, but that's what everybody wanted. So I'm just curious, what did everybody want him to do differently? The team's just not playing well. That's just the bottom line, and I really don't think it's his fault. And I understand that people are frustrated with his ideology and kind of weird trades and DFAs and calling up guys. He's just unconventional, and it's kind of head scratchy at times. But I just don't think you could blame him for it right now. Like, what exactly do you want him to do differently?
I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but I think fans are tired of the 1-year contracts with the opt-out. If that's the only deal he could get, then fine, but not finding guys long-term, not capitalizing on them when he could have. Like, say a Carlos Rodon. I know he was struggling in New York, but he was great with the Giants. A change of scenery wasn't what he needed. Kevin Gosman's another example of that. But I think Ernie too has it perfect here. And this is, I think, what the real problem is I've wanted Farhan to develop the farm system, but it's year 6 with no fruits. That's what he was supposed to fix, right? The farm system. That's the thing to me. The fact that you're in 2024 and you don't have Elliot Ramos playing every day. You don't have Marco called up. The Joey Bart thing wasn't a Farhan pick. I understand that, but Joey Bart was supposed to be the catcher of the future. Patrick Bailey's been fantastic. They've also been ravaged by injury this year. Don't make any mistake about it. It looks like Jung-Hoo Lee probably going to go on the 10-day IL after hurting his shoulder today.
Yeah,
but
it's another guy that Farhan signed too, by the way.
It's not the free agency in that I have any problem with. It's more that none of these young guys are called up, which is what's forcing you to make all these deals. Like with where the Giants were at in 2021, 3 years later, they weren't meant to have an offseason where they're trying to rebuild their entire lineup. Like that's what it felt like he was doing. And some of that could be his fault. Some of that could be the coaching down in the lower levels. It could be like I just also think a lot of these players' confidence is just shattered whenever they don't get the call up, when it feels like it's their opportunity. It's their one time that they get to go and they're not there. Like I think one glaring omission from spring training leading into the season was Matos. I know he got called up today because Conforto went on the IL as well, but Luis Matos was terrific in spring training and there was nothing to show for it. Just nothing. Like nothing. He eventually, like they said, oh, he'll eventually get called up. Didn't happen. So I think that's the biggest problem that they'd want to be, that they'd want Farhan to do differently, is how he would have handled them. But I think it's too little too late. I really do.
And I understand that, but I also would tell Giants fans they just extended him, and I think Bob Melvin took the job because of Farhan. And I think he always wanted to be the Giants manager too, but it helps when the guy that he knows from the A's organization is, the guy in charge. So I don't see that changing anytime soon. I don't think Bob wants Farhan to go. I just don't think it's working right now. And they may be more aggressive at the trade deadline. We'll see what happens, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think that just firing Farhan's not going to solve anything at this point in time. And you're not going to get is Pete Patella going to take over as president of baseball operations in the middle of the season? That's not going to do shit. So yeah. I would tell everybody, like, just give it time. If they make the playoffs, then the season was a success. I would say this also too. I think Giants fans are upset because this is what I feel. I could be totally wrong here. I think the Giants, little by little, are becoming more, I'll say it, a little more irrelevant in the Bay Area when it comes to the grand scheme of things of the Warriors and the Niners, because those teams are highly successful. Warriors have won multiple championships in the last 10 years. Since the time the Giants won their last championship, the Giants have had 2 playoff appearances. And one of them was, they didn't win that series against the Dodgers. And they had that one game playoff win against the wild card win against the Mets. That's it. Not a lot of success. Larry Bear comes on this every week, and Adam Copeland asked him, are the Giants a championship win now franchise still? And he kind of danced around and said, yeah, but we've had a few off seasons here or there. It's been 10 years of off seasons. And I think that the Bay Area used to be a baseball town. It is not that way anymore. I think that it is first and foremost a football town when it comes to the 49ers, because that's a team that has always been successful and fans have always, been entertained by. But the Warriors grew and, in my opinion, kind of killed the Giants a little bit. So I think that while, the Giants are still very popular in the Bay Area, I think that while they do not have success, I think that angers Giants fans because the other two teams are having way more success.
Yeah. Yeah, they could be right there, but it's going to be some gloomy days for the Warriors, though, coming up. It's going to be some very gloomy days. WNBA Golden State can't even discount them and what Bay FC is doing, and
but they
all
still
this
got stuff right now.
Yeah, sure, for sure. But yeah, I think they are growing a little more irrelevant. But at the end of the day, they're going to be the Bay Area's only baseball team,
of course,
and that means something. So.
No, I know that, but in the pecking order of, I know the deal. The three most popular teams in the Bay Area are the 49ers, Warriors, and Giants. And it feels like the Giants are a distant third right now from the other two.
For sure. Yeah, and I don't know whether it's just Farhan. There's a lot that you can unpack from the history of the Giants and like missing out on their superstars, guys who you can bring, who will bring fans to the ballpark and all those different things. They're missing that, and they haven't had that in a very long time. Even, I mean, those early Giants teams, you had Posey, you had Lincecum, you had Madison Bumgarner, but those guys all dropped off very quickly. You haven't really had that that type of star at all, and I think that's another part that's frustrating from the fans' perspective as far as Farhan. Like, what it seems to me is he was great at his previous job. He's kind of the equivalent of an offensive coordinator who turns into a head coach and then he's not successful as a head coach, and you realize, this guy's probably just better suited as an offensive coordinator.
Right.
Like, that's what he strikes me as, whatever the front office equivalent of that is. He's better as an assistant and maybe an evaluator come draft time, looking at numbers and seeing who can be successful, because the track record was there from the Dodgers. Like, the track record was there in players with whom he had an integral part in getting. But when it comes to these deals for free agents, for hiring coaches to develop those superstars, was he the guy doing that in Dodger Town, or was it Andrew Friedman? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So there's a lot that could go into it, man. It's just it. And then Ernie 2 points out, Ernie 2 is on fire. Another factor that makes things much more frustrating are the moves the Johnsons have done off the field. It's not going to get any worse come November, or any better come November.
No, I mean, I get that too. Yeah, no, I don't think, I think that people are pointing the finger at Farhan. I get it. Things are not going well, but I would also, baseball's a very long season. So just give it a little bit of time. That's my 2 cents. I don't really know. I think that they, did a lot of big swings this offseason and it just hasn't panned out. So, and it could get worse.
There's no rhyme or reason to what he's doing. I'll say that. How about that? Like, we kind of know with the free agents and stuff. That's the free agents. Not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the younger guys in the farm system, like Reggie Crawford, for example, their first round pick from a couple of years ago. He just got the call up to AAA from AA, but he wasn't any good in AA. He was all right. He only pitched 9 innings, and what did he give up? Gave up 5 earned runs, 7 hits, struck out 19, which is a phenomenal number. So the strikeout numbers are there, and he's probably throwing strikes, but still you're just calling up a guy because he strikes people out? Or are you calling up a guy because you feel like you need to? There's just no rhyme or reason to it at all. Any of the reasoning for the other guys, well, he's always throwing strikes, locating his pitches well. I guess they're just okay with the amount of runs that he's given up.
And things could get worse this week, because we'll see what happens here. It's Giants and Reds in the bottom of the 10th right now in extra innings. Obviously going to the 10th. But they got a 3-game series against the Dodgers this week. And after Logan Webb's dog shit comment, if they lose 2 or 3 to the Reds and then they got to play the high-flying Dodgers, things get really bad this week.
It's true. Or they could get a little bit better. For whatever reason, these Dodgers series always change things. 2021, It took a couple of series against the Dodgers that like completely flipped the Giants season around, and it gave them momentum, and they went on a little win streak and then started climbing in the standings in the NL West. You never know what can happen. It's a long season, but things are bleak right now.
Yeah. Steven, you wanted to bring this up, another baseball topic. Why? I'm just curious. What made you think of this? So you want to talk about possibly the worst trade ever in sports history?
It's a little much, but compared to where the players are now from the trade, yes, I do think that the trade will go down as one of the worst made by the Marlins a few years ago. So, you know what spurred this, though? I don't know if you saw, but Monty Harrison, who was a prospect, and he was part of the Christian Yelich trade when Yelich was traded from the Marlins to the Brewers. Monty Harrison is going to play college football at 28 years old.
Oh, wow.
He is going to play for Arkansas.
Okay.
And if you look at...
So he's going to be like Brandon Whedon.
Yeah.
Or worse. Brandon Whedon was like a 28-year-old rookie. This guy's going to play college football at 28.
All right. So if you look down at the list and where they're at now, well, Lewis Brinson, part of that trade, he is now playing in the Mexico League. Jordan Yamamoto, a pitcher, is now a high school coach. Isan Diaz, I actually got to look up where he's at. This is one I kind of forgot about, who played for the Giants for a little bit. Yeah, he's playing in the Independent League, the Atlantic League for pro baseball. So,
is he a baller?
No. So, in that trade, in that return that you got when you were trying to tear that thing down and build it all up again, seeing where those guys have ended up, capped off by this dude who wants to go play wide receiver instead of baseball, that's one of the worst trades that we've seen ever. It's bad.
Yep. I'll take your word for it.
It was interesting at the time, but not anymore. Like 6 days have passed since that news surfaced.
Yeah. Still give your 2 cents on it.
All right. Thank you. Moving on.
Now a topic I know you'll thoroughly enjoy, Stephen. The NFL is supposedly going to have their Christmas Day games on Netflix. So that would mean that you're going to have 3 streaming services linked up with the NFL. You're going to have Peacock, you're going to have Amazon Prime, obviously, and you're going to have Netflix. So everybody will complain that more streaming is on the NFL. But that's just the way things are going these days. Like live sports, everybody wants them on regular TV, but regular TV is dying. That's just the truth. I think we only have a couple more years, maybe 10 to 15, where I think we have the traditional cable, packages. Even the networks have deviated to that. Like you have Paramount Network or whatever it's called, Paramount Plus, whatever the hell, where you can watch the NFL on that. There are alternatives. I mean, obviously, one of the biggest things of all time, NFL Sunday Ticket, is on YouTube TV with the intention of you not having cable. That's what people like. Little by little, we were getting away from that. And I think that's going to hit big if this does happen, where the NBA is in serious talks of having their package just be on ESPN and NBC. And going back to NBC would be a big deal because everybody loves the theme song, and that's, Round Ball Rock. But that, for years, that was how Michael Jordan was huge. It was on NBA on NBC. But they intend to have most of the games appear on Peacock. So, yeah, we're going into a new day and age of sports media where eventually everything will be streaming. I believe that. And it's not successful in baseball. I think the whole idea of having the Friday night thing where you have to have fans, if you're trying to watch the Giants and Phillies and that game is on Apple TV, that's ridiculous. That game should be shown locally at the same time. To ask fans to go sign up just one time to watch that game for Apple TV is ridiculous. I think that's one of the dumbest things. You don't see that in the NFL. If that game is on locally, or if you're in that local market for like a streaming exclusive game, then they'll show that game on a local channel. But yeah, I think just slowly we're going to this day where everything will
Giants won.
be. They just won.
Yeah.
Home run. Who was it?
Yeah. It was a double by Casey Schmidt.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
Anyway,
Well, they go into the Dodgers series winning 2-3. But yeah, Steven, just my overall thing, like, yes, everybody for the majority has Netflix. It's probably the most popular streaming service out there. But yeah, I feel like, this is going to become the norm. We're all going to start watching live sports on streaming platforms.
well, we've known this though, right?
I know, but
we've known this for a while.
No, I know,
that
but
this would be the way it'd be trending.
Of course, but I think that it's, when the NBA is cool with getting rid of TNT, like that's a big deal. Like the NBA on TNT has been a mainstay in NBA for a long time with Ernie, Shaq, Charles, and Kenny Smith, and most likely that's going away, which I think is going to kill them. But they see the benefit of going to streaming more than staying on regular cable. The NFL, they feel that going to Netflix is going to get them a bigger audience than going to CBS or Fox for these Christmas Day games. I just feel like and we're talking about this on a podcast, those are growing. I think the norm or just the traditional style of regular TV is just dying. And I knew we knew this, but I feel like it's just going a little faster than people expected.
Yeah. But talk to like Major League Soccer fans. They can't watch their games on local broadcasts. They got to pay for Major League Soccer season pass on Apple TV if they want to watch any of those games. Any of these kind of, I don't want to say obscure because soccer's not obscure, but less popular than the four major American sports. Just ask any of them. They all got to subscribe to something just to watch their favorite sports. So they're kind of used to this, but yeah, we are trending in that direction, but this is, anyone who's been paying attention knows this isn't going on that. I'm kind of standing on my soapbox here and acting like I could predict the future, but there's been a lot of talk around this for a long time. And really what kind of jump started it was Amazon Prime getting Thursday Night Football. Once they got Thursday Night Football and you saw the amount of money that they were just throwing at the NFL to allow them to broadcast those games, you knew that these streaming services would take over. So yeah, we knew it was not a matter of if, but when. I just don't think anyone expected it to be on Christmas Day. Like,
well, I mean, what's the big deal there?
Because it's just always been a basketball holiday, and normally you're watching your NBA teams, and now the NFL's taking over. By the way, you're going to have to watch on 3 different streaming services if you want to watch any of these games.
Well, that's the annoying thing, is that if you want to flip around, you can't do it on Netflix. You have to exit the app and then go to whatever other app you have to go to. Like that's the annoying part. I will say that.
Certainly not as convenient, but like anyone who is excited for the NFL schedule release coming up this week, couple of days, you're lying to yourself if you're saying you're not going to watch any of these games and do everything you can to watch those games on Christmas Day.
Oh, someone like you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's just basically it. Like, it's not surprising me whatsoever, and I think they're going to announce this tomorrow. God, I hope. Because then I think that was the holdup. Actually, was the NFL and Netflix have to figure out this deal, and then they'll announce the NFL schedule. But it's not surprising to me. I think that we've been. I mean, NFL Network is basically dead. Like that, I don't know how much longer they're going to be a cable network. It'll most likely be a streaming service. It'll be NFL Plus, and that's how you get all that content. But the days of NFL Network probably not going to be much longer. ESPN even. ESPN is pushing to be way more of a streaming platform with ESPN Plus or whatever the hell it's called. They gotta do something different than the plus thing too. They gotta start coming up with different variations of that. And it may
Hey
be
man, they
more.
got the insiders where Ian Rappaport wears a hoodie.
Yes, actually, I haven't seen a second of that show.
It's the same exact show, except Ian Rappaport wears a hoodie.
He's just not dressed up.
Tom Pelissero wears a flannel.
And Mike Garafolo, I don't even know what he's wearing.
He wears
Beats?
a quarter zip.
Oh, he does? Okay.
It's
I saw
not
him the other day. He was wearing like a hat and he had like headphones on. He was looking like a DJ.
It's no different than any of their previous shows. They just call it the Insiders, and it's a little laid back with their attire.
Yeah, I would say those three guys are very good on TV, but they kind of need to be set up. That's where kicking Siciliano to the curb is lost on me.
Ernie, too, brings up an excellent point. How long do you guys project Super Bowl will be on pay-per-view?
How long until we have that? Very soon, probably. But not on pay-per-view. It would just be on a streaming platform, yeah.
I would be very interested for them to sell that game for as much as the UFC sells their main card pay-per-view. And I'm not even going to use the new prices. Let's just use the old ones. Let's just use, you got to pay $60 to watch the Super Bowl. I'd be fascinated as to how many buys they'll get. Because I think a lot of people watch the Super Bowl due to the convenience of it, just because you can go straight to NBC. Like, I'm not saying it's going to happen. There's probably a lot of reasons as to why it's not pay-per-view, because the NFL is just raking in money from those media deals anyway. They don't need just to gouge you of whatever savings you've had over the years. But I'd be very interested to see how many buys they get if they set that number at like $60 to view the Super Bowl. I wonder how many people would actually pay for that.
Well, I don't think it's going to be a one-off thing. I think they'll just put it on. That would be lame. That would be lame if they did it like that. I would prefer if they just said it's going to be on Netflix or Amazon, and that's how
you got to actually pay for it, like through the thing.
Nah, I don't want
whatever streaming service.
No, I think if you already have the streaming service, I think you should be able to watch the Super Bowl.
Right. But I'm saying if, just a hypothetical, it's probably not going to happen. I think it'd be fascinating.
As you just said, as you just said, Steven, there's always going to be, like, the NFL can literally do whatever the fuck they want. Yeah. So if they tell people Saturday night before the Super Bowl, it's going to cost you, as AJ Cruz just said here, $69.99 to watch the Super Bowl, then people are going to be like, God damn it. All right, fuck.
All right, well, if we invite 12 people, that'll be about $5-6 each, so like you'd be having to scrounge money. People would make it work, I'm sure, but I would be interested to see the viewing numbers.
I think it would dip a little bit, but people would do it because people want to watch football. The NFL knows they got everybody's nuts in a vice when it comes to that shit.
Yeah.
So they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. I think Boomer Esiason kind of leaked that news out there that the NFL is going to have their Christmas Day games on Netflix, which means to me that he's probably going to be a part of the broadcast.
Make the comment, sort of walk back the comment, but in reality, you said it. Netflix on Christmas.
Yeah.
You said it.
I wouldn't be surprised if Boomer Esiason's the one calling those games.
Do you know something?
No. No, I don't.
You're sounding like Boomer.
I just want this goddamn thing to be released already. And the fact that it's not been officially announced by the NFL yet has me a little nervous. If we don't get any news tomorrow that the NFL is saying the schedule release is coming out Wednesday, then we're kind of fucked here.
Why?
It's just not going to happen on Wednesday. Most likely.
Why are we fucked?
Okay, life will go on for you, Steven. Everything will be fine. I will go crazy for a day, and then I'll get by.
I don't care how condescending I sound. It's a schedule release.
Yeah. And we're going to do it balls to the wall on Wednesday, baby. If it happens. I'm a little nervous.
All the teams are going to make these
You like 'em.
cringy
liked
schedule
it.
release videos.
You liked the Titans one last year.
I did like the Titans one last year. That
The
Titan
Chargers
one
one was weird.
it was bizarre.
I'm
but
not an anime guy.
Getting schedule, getting people to guess which teams are on the schedule based on the logo is pretty good.
It was fun. It was funny because of the dumb answers.
It also is funny because that's how a majority of people are. They don't care about football with every second of their life, and they care about other things.
Okay, well, let's be real. Nashville is one of the biggest bridal shower places in America, and they asked a bunch of women that were in
Bachelorette parties, yeah,
bachelorette parties.
Uh-huh,
So
yeah.
that's why that thing was so weird. But it was funny. That was really funny.
It was great.
Yeah. All right, before we get out of here, let's do a little pop culture catch up, Steven. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I didn't want to catch you off guard.
You
Seen
want
anything
that?
lately besides Taskmasters?
Huh? Yeah, I'm still watching Fallout. Pretty
Okay.
awesome. I highly recommend anyone watch that. It's former video game, but or still is a video game, but made into a show. I like that. I like the video game to TV series or movie. I like that. I like what are we watching right now? The Jinx Part 2. The Jinx
what
is
is
a
that?
it's a documentary about this guy Robert Durst, who allegedly
Fred Durst's son?
Fred Durst was instantly mentioned, and Fred Durst actually posted to his Instagram, "I am not this guy Robert. Stop messaging me." He said that on there. But the Jinx part it's about a guy who allegedly killed someone, and there's a whole documentary on it, and it's really good. Part 1 is awesome. Part 2 is great. And allegedly. Don't ruin it. Anyway, I don't know if that sounds good with Jesse talking off mic like that, but it's like I'm talking to, like the angel on my shoulder.
All right. And that's on HBO Max.
Yeah, dude. If you want to watch, if you get into that, feel free.
Well, another thing that came out to HBO Max, and you've already seen this. I watched it last night. The Iron Claw, the movie about the Von Erichs.
Yeah.
The wrestling brothers in the 70s and 80s. Really good movie. Really good movie. Very dark. I did not know their story, and goddamn, is that terrible. What happened to those brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. And their dad, God, what an asshole. But yes, my biggest criticism of the movie was everybody else's. The guy that played Ric Flair was awful. Absolutely awful.
Wasn't it the worst?
That should have been just the easiest thing because he's probably the most well-known person portrayed in that film. And the fact that the guys sound nothing like him, even the woo was awful. Like, he may have looked like him, but that doesn't mean shit. Like, the portrayal of Ric Flair was piss poor.
You put 100 people in a room who can do a Ric Flair impression, and I guarantee you those 100 people would be better than that guy.
Yeah.
What the hell? Did they even audition for that part? Did this guy get in because he knew someone? How did he get the part for Ric Flair when he can't do any Ric Flair impression? Terrible.
I mean, you could have. I mean, and I guess maybe the movie had a budget. They had to fit, and they just got some no-name guy that looked like Ric Flair, but damn, did he not sell that part? Like, it would have been great if they got a big-name actor for like a little cameo to play Ric Flair and really nailed it. But that performance was awful.
Did you see the little thing with Ric Flair this week?
No.
Yeah, this past week he I guess he was drunk at a restaurant. I don't even know if it's a video from this week, but I saw it this week. It could have been from a while ago, for all I know. But it was video footage. Someone was sneaking their phone. But he was at the bar, and I don't know what caused the argument, but he was at a bar and clearly drunk, slurring his words, and telling this manager, "Let's go out back. I'll go out back right now." who got to decide. We can't do it here. I'll go out back, and we'll, if you're gonna call me that, we'll go out back. And then there was like a guy sitting at the bar, and he said, "This guy can't do it, but I don't work here. I don't give a shit. Let's go." Because he was getting really pissed at Ric Flair, and Ric Flair didn't say anything to that. Dude, I don't like what type of legacy he's leaving, because really ever since he got on this popular media tour for the past like 6 or 7 years or whatever it's been, I haven't gotten a much better impression of this guy as opposed to other wrestlers.
Yeah, I watched, and a lot of it came back because of the 30 for 30, the Nature Boy. And in that documentary, he does not come across very well.
No.
Like, it's almost like all the other wrestlers that are interviewed in the documentary, they're like, yeah, I mean, we were all just, playing a character, and Rick was trying to be a character, and then we were all kind of sad. Like, he would party and drink and fool around with other women, and we were like, Rick, hey man, we're like, take it easy. Like, we all got families and real lives. This is just a job. What do you do on the side? He's like, nah, I am Ric Flair. Woo! And then they get into the other stuff about how he neglected his family and his son having a drug overdose and him not being there. Like, it didn't make him look like the most sympathetic character in the world.
No, not at all. And it's sad. And that video kind of amplified that. But good God, can we get someone who could do a Ric Flair impression if they're going to make a movie with him in it?
I agree. A. Scott texted me when that movie came out. He was like, I could have done a better one. I was like, yeah, but you don't look like him. So
he could have. A. Scott goes into the audition room. He's got the Adidas striped sweater. He just with the jeans, the black shoes.
He could do it. I mean, A. Scott's a huge wrestling fan. I can see him doing the whole thing of, well, they all want to go on Space Mountain with me. But yeah, he doesn't look like Ric Flair. Although the part that made me laugh in the movie, and I say this as a short guy myself, when they would show like the old graphics of back in the day of the wrestling broadcasts, and the guy that Zac Efron is portraying in the movie is 6'2", and they have it on the screen like 6'2". I was like, Zac Efron's not 6'2". This is stupid.
No.
By the way,
if you want to see the actual family, the Von Erich, you can go to Hulu. There's a great thing that Vice does called Dark Side of the Ring, which Alex and I have talked about before, but it's in the first season, the Von Erich family, if you want to get a kind of a feel for what actually happened or the real people, what they look like and all that. I don't know if they did the best job casting guys for how they looked. Maybe the not Jeremy Allen White was okay, but even the guy who Jeremy Allen White played, like that guy was so much bigger and stronger, just more built. And it's going to be impossible to find any legitimate actors who are built like that. But you go and see some of those photos, you're like, damn, they didn't really look like that. I mean, they did a good job, but yeah. How smooth was it in that dancing scene at the wedding? Thank God I'm a country boy.
Oh, very smooth. I was actually very impressed that they all could move like that.
I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Zac Efron still got that High School Musical in him, man.
They're all square dancing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Zac Efron was huge in that movie. Good Lord.
Massive, isn't he?
Massive, and a lot of help with steroids, probably.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of veins popping out. What do you think? He's just eating
that looked
protein stacked breakfast?
Nah. Like, that looked unnatural.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some other pop culture catch-up news. You want to bring this up, Steven? There's a Chris Farley biopic coming out, huh?
Yeah.
And who's portraying Chris?
Paul Walter Hauser, the guy from let's see, I, Tonya.
Yeah.
I know there's a bunch of different stuff. I only gave you one movie. What else has he been in? Hang on.
He's been in I want to say the Cruella de Vil movie. He's one of the henchmen.
He was, yeah. This guy.
Yep.
This guy.
Now he was the lead in what was it, Richard Jewell?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That one.
So he's gonna play Chris Farley. Yeah, I can see it, I guess. He's actually a really good actor, so I could see him pulling it off.
I think he can, but what are you going to do with everyone else? How are you going to portray those guys on Saturday Night Live? What are you going to get someone to play Chris Rock, David Spade, Adam Sandler?
Yeah, of course.
Especially David Spade. Like, wait, you're just going to... Feels weird casting actual actors into biopics. Like, normally these are people you don't really see on screen. I think it's kind of... To be honest, I'd love a Farley movie, but it feels like they're setting themselves up for disappointment with this one.
Why do you say that?
Just because of that, because of who they'll cast around him. It'll be like the Ric Flair casting in the Iron Claw. You'll be like, well, why did they cast this dude as David Spade? Why are they? Can they find another guy to go? You know, can they find an Adam Sandler?
I'm sure there's a lot of guys that could pull off an Adam Sandler, but then again, I'm sure there's a lot of guys that could pull off a Ric Flair. Yeah, it's going to be interesting because with that many notable people, if they don't nail the portrayal, then that's all anybody will talk about is that they didn't do a good job with that. But yeah, we're getting to the point now where a lot of the stars that we grew up with are getting movies about them. Like there was a movie a couple years ago that came out on Netflix called A Stupid and I want to say Stupid and Futile Gesture or whatever the hell it's called. It's a movie about National Lampoon magazine and how that was made and everything and the movies that came along with it, Animal House.
Right.
And there's people playing Bill Murray and Chevy Chase and Harold Ramis, and they all nailed it. They're all very good in it. If it wasn't a good portrayal, then that movie would have sucked. They have to look and sound like those actors. So I'm with you. Yes, this is going to be very risky where there's a lot of people that everybody loves. And if you don't look and sound like those actors, then it's not going to work out.
Like, also, how athletic is Paul Walter Hauser? I mean, you're going to have to use...
Now, Farley can move.
They're going to have to use a stunt double, but Farley was like an offensive lineman, underrated athleticism. Just
ton of energy.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch his first Letterman appearance.
Yep.
And the way that he struts onto the stage and does all the cartwheels and stuff, and he's weighing in at 300 pounds. It's unreal.
Yeah, no. But yeah, that'll be interesting. Did they say who's directing it or just the actor's boy?
Josh Gad is directing it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Here, I mean, I could pull up the little Hollywood Reporter. Yeah. Josh Gad.
Oh, and Laura Michaels is producing. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, interesting.
That'd be sad.
And lastly, yes, A Futile and Stupid Gesture. Thank you, Ernie One. Good movie on Netflix. Before we get out of here, Steven, Mother's Day. A lot of great mothers in the world. Who is some of your favorite movie and TV moms of all time?
Aunt Viv. Even though she's an aunt, she's a mom. Aunt Viv from Fresh Prince, the first one.
Oh,
the first Aunt Viv.
And then they replaced her.
Yeah, the first Aunt Viv.
Yeah, what was the whole story about? What was the whole story behind that?
Wasn't there something that had to do with her getting paid? And it was like a whole thing with her and Will Smith.
Yeah, they didn't get along. Well, she didn't think of him as like a real actor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Nah, but I loved the first Aunt Viv. Like she's my number one. Then go to Modern Family, Julie Bowen and good God, what's her name?
Sofia Vergara.
Sofia Vergara, thank you.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Love them too as TV moms.
No, hold on. Do you like them as moms or do you like them as, hot women?
I like that Gloria lets her son be himself. And if you can appreciate what Julie Bowen does with those three children, those roughhousers, or whatever you call them, roughhousers.
Roughhousers?
Respect to those two and what they do as parents.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, let's go with the easy one. Stifler's mom. No,
Why
I'm
do you
kidding.
like Stifler's mom, Derek?
No, I'm kidding. You actually never see her as a mom. I'm talking about people that actually portrayed motherly things. No, Ernie 2 says it in the chat here. I think Marge Simpson is one of the best moms of all time in pop culture because she's so loving to the kids. She takes care of them all, and she deals with Homer's bullshit all the time. And at the end of the day, she just loves him regardless of how stupid he is. I think all the cartoon moms are fantastic. Lois from Family Guy,
Mm-hmm.
the Jetsons, the Flintstones, all of them just put up with bullshit. And yeah, they're, in the traditional mother role where they're, don't have jobs and whatever, and times have changed, obviously. But I just love moms that love their family and love their kids and just deal with a bunch of bullshit. That's always the comedy thing in sitcoms is, oh, I'm the mom. I have to deal with the stupid husband and all that stuff. But it always showed them as the smarter one and the one that actually raised the kids. So I always appreciated that stuff.
Yeah. Look no further than Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yes.
Deborah and what she had to deal
Deborah.
with those in-laws.
Yep.
Like, goodness me, I know Doris Roberts, rest in peace. I know that what's her name in that? Marie? Yeah.
Marie, yep.
I know Marie is like a great mom in her own right, but good God, Deborah having to we watched that in Texas because Jesse's mom likes Everybody Loves Raymond, and we were watching a couple of episodes in Texas, and I haven't seen that show in a while. And now that I'm a little older, a little wiser, good God, they have to deal with a lot.
That is one of the most realistic portrayals of an Italian family that lives close by.
Yeah,
and the bullshit that the wife has to go through to be a part of that family. Like I've seen that before. That is, and Raymond's parents on that show were my dad's parents. That was my grandpa. Just all right, Marie. Just watching TV from a distance and just watching the TV, waiting for dinner to be made. And yeah, my grandma was always in the kitchen making food. That was that is spot on.
If we want to talk about movie moms, you got to go with the number one mama in movie history with Forrest Gump and Sally Field.
Yes, absolutely.
Mama Gump, come on, man. Mama gave him all that advice. Do you think he would have become a ping pong champion without Mama? No. Would he
Absolutely
become a
not.
Vietnam War hero without Mama? No.
And she sacrificed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Forrest, your mom really wants you to go to school.
maybe that was who was in the background of Dodge's presser.
Oh, full circle.
I must have drank me about 13 Dr. Peppers.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of ones in movies. There's a lot, but none are coming to mind right now.
How about Regina George's mom in Mean Girls, huh? Amy Poehler?
It's been a minute. Oh yeah, she just wanted to fit in with the girls.
She was amazing.
That was another accurate portrayal of dance moms.
Yes. And
yes,
George
water. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yes.
When Regina George is in the room making out with the boyfriend, you need anything? Need some water?
Yep.
Condom? Ugh, God love you.
So realistic, to be honest. Or just good satire. Yes, Jesse's right here. Waterboy's mama, Kathy Bates, absolutely.
But she thought everything was the devil.
She did, but then she knew that she had to let him grow and go.
Yeah, then Bobby opened up her whole world. Football was meant for my Bobby. Bobby was born to play foosball.
Yep. Trying to think of another one.
Mama Weasley and Harry Potter. Got to give her that. Fighting for her daughter, Bellatrix Lestrange. Not my daughter, you bitch. Huh?
Okay, I'll take your word for that one.
Yeah.
God, there's so many good ones.
Gold, Eric. I'm giving you gold here.
No, you are. Oh, this is an underrated one. A lot of people don't like this movie. I liked it a lot. 3 Billboards. You ever see that?
Yeah.
Frances McDormand, when a sad movie, obviously her daughter dies, she stops at nothing to get vengeance for it.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yep.
Random, Jung Hoo Lee got a separated left shoulder. That's
Yeah.
what yikes. That's what Melvin said. I don't know what that means.
It means he has a separated left shoulder.
Yeah. I mean, like for the timetable to return. Like,
yeah.
how long is the recovery? Like, what is that like? Is he going to be the same? All that sort of stuff. Stranger Things mom.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Winona Ryder.
Yep.
Yeah. Great mom.
She did everything in her power to get Will back. Will.
All right. That's all I got.
Wow. What a thrilling segment we just did.
I should have done a better job of planning that out. I just try to think of things that come off the mind, but I couldn't get a lot.
How about this? Michael Keaton and Mr. Mom.
That doesn't count.
Why not?
Because he wasn't a mom. He was a dad.
All right, fine.
All right. On that note, anything else, Steven?
Been utilizing my left pocket in the shirts lately. I never really used them before.
Ah, okay. You got like keeping stuff in there?
Yeah, man. I just came to the
candy?
realization like this week. I started using I'm like, my pockets are getting full, yet I got a couple more on my chest. So I've been utilizing the shirt pockets more, which I never really did.
And what is in that?
AirPods, nothing crazy. Chapstick, little keys, some keys maybe.
And they don't see the thing about those pockets though, they're very slim. So they leave like a big imprint on that side of your chest.
They are meant for smaller items.
Yes.
So that's what I got.
All right.
You got anything else?
That's all I got, my friend. I'm just counting down the days until this NFL schedule release comes out.
Oh, Jesus.
And you best believe it's going to be a big old show on Wednesday when we go through the whole damn thing. And if they don't release it, I'm going to go crazy.
All right.
On that note, thanks everybody in the chat as always, to the Ernies, to AJ Cruz, to Jesse, to who else was here today?
Nobody.
A random person that showed up. Is that it?
Alon. Yeah, thanks.
Oh yeah, Alon. Alon was here. I think Danny Goldney TV popped up at one point, didn't he?
Oh, he did, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I can remember for right now. All right, everybody. We will be back on Wednesday, and hopefully we have the NFL schedule by then. If not, Steven, say what you always say.
It's just our opinion, man. Please, God, NFL, release the schedule.